The old wooden porch swing creaked rhythmically, the soundtrack to Sarah's quiet evening. Beside her, John's presence was more a comforting weight than a conversation partner. Their days were smooth, predictable, almost too normal. It was a year after the talk. A year since the raw honesty had ripped through their carefully constructed facade. A year since they'd confessed their infidelities, hers a stolen kiss, his a brief affair. A year of rebuilding, of painstaking honesty, of counseling sessions that felt like peeling back layers of scar tissue. They'd made it through. They were stronger, they were told, wiser even. And yet, sometimes the quiet felt heavy, like unspoken questions hung in the air between them. Sarah loved John, that hadn't changed. But the easy lightness they once shared felt harder to access, replaced by a conscious effort to connect, to prove they were okay. Tonight, Michael was at a sleepover, a rare night just for them. Sarah had envisioned romantic dinner, a relaxed conversation. Instead, they were here side by side in silence, the crickets chirping louder than anything uttered between them. She glanced at John. His gaze was fixed on the twilight garden, a familiar furrow in his brow. "What are you thinking about?" Sarah asked softly, breaking the silence. John sighed, the sound carrying a heavier weight than she expected. "Work mostly. Big project deadline looming." "Still." Sarah frowned. "I thought that was supposed to be easing up?" "It's complicated," he said vaguely, shifting his weight. He didn't elaborate, and Sarah felt that familiar prickle of unease, the ghost of secrets past. "John," she began, her voice deliberately gentle, "we said no more secrets, remember?" He turned to her, his eyes meeting hers. There was a weariness there, a vulnerability she hadn't seen in a while. "I know, Sarah. It's just hard to explain." He hesitated again, and Sarah's mind, still skittish from the previous year, jumped to conclusions. Was there another Lisa? Was the weight of the project a metaphor for something else entirely? Instead of letting the fear take hold, Sarah took his hand. "Tell me," she urged. John took a deep breath, the porch swing stilling for a moment. "Remember how I was talking about the possibility of a promotion? The one that would mean more responsibility, more travel?" Sarah nodded slowly, her stomach tightening. She had vaguely registered the conversation months ago, pushed it to the back of her mind. Travel, that had been a trigger word, a source of anxiety after his affair. "Well," John continued, his voice strained, "it's not just a possibility anymore. It's been offered. And I turned it down." Sarah blinked, surprised. "You turned it down? But I thought you wanted that." He shrugged, avoiding her eyes again. "I did. A long time ago. Before everything." Now she was really confused. Before? Alex? Before Lisa? What does that have to do with it? John finally met her gaze, and Sarah saw the raw struggle in his eyes. "It has to do with you, Sarah. With us. With Michael. With what we almost lost." He explained then, the words tumbling out in a rush. The promotion was a significant step up, a career dream realized. But it came with a heavy price, relentless travel, even longer hours, more pressure. He'd pictured his life, the life he almost lost, flashing before his eyes when they offered it. He'd seen their strained silences, Michael's quiet worry, the ghost of Alex lingering in their house. I couldn't risk it, Sarah," he confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "Not again. Not when we're just starting to really breathe again." Sarah listened, her own anxiety slowly giving way to a different emotion, relief, and something akin to understanding. He'd been keeping another secret, not of infidelity, but of sacrifice. He'd given up a dream, a career ambition out of fear, out of a desperate desire to protect what they had rebuilt. "But John," Sarah said gently, "why didn't you tell me? This is huge. Turning down a promotion like that." "Because," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper, "I was afraid. Afraid you'd think I was weak. Afraid you'd think I wasn't ambitious anymore. Afraid, maybe selfishly, that you'd somehow see it as less of me." Sarah reached out, cupping his face in her hands. "Oh, John." She saw the vulnerability laid bare, the fear that had been driving his silence. It wasn't a new affair, it was a new fear born from the old pain. "I don't see you as less," she said, her voice firm. "I see you as brave. And maybe a little bit foolish for carrying this alone." A small watery chuckle escaped John. "Foolish, definitely." They sat in silence again, but this time it was different. The quiet was lighter, filled with a shared understanding, a fragile trust flickering back to life. "We should have talked about it," Sarah murmured, leaning her head against his shoulder. "About the promotion, about your concerns." "I know," John admitted. "Old habits die hard, I guess. Keeping things in, trying to protect you, protect us. It's stupid." "It is," Sarah agreed, a small smile gracing her lips. "But we're learning. We're still learning." He wrapped his arm around her, pulling her closer. "We are," he said, his voice laced with a newfound hope. "And maybe this time we're learning to build on something stronger than before. Not perfection, but realness, remember?" Sarah nodded, closing her eyes, breathing in the scent of the evening garden and the familiar comfort of John's presence. Realness. That was it. Their marriage wasn't a fairy tale. It was a tapestry woven with threads of mistakes, pain, forgiveness, and now this fragile but genuine honesty. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. The porch swing creaked on, a softer, gentler rhythm now, a lullaby of imperfect love, still swinging, still moving forward. If you enjoy this story, please like, subscribe, and share.